Welcome back to BYU Sports Nation. We are live from Big 12 Basketball Media Days at T-Mobile Center in Kansas City, Missouri. Earlier this morning, the always entertaining and very exuberant Sean Farnham of ESPN joined us to discuss realistic expectations for the Cougars in year 2 of their Big 12 campaign and what he expects from Kevin Young in year 1 in his Provo tenure. Sean, to say that BYU looks a little bit different than last year is a massive understatement. New head coach, totally revamped roster, but some core pieces back for sure. What's your overall perception of BYU basketball as they enter year 2 of Big 12 play?
They've changed as much as your biceps. Dude, what have you been doing in the offseason? Like, I walked in, I was like, my man's jacked. Like, you hit Orange Theory every day or something like that?
Creatine is
CrossFit?
back. I wish, man. 4 kids at home, so it's
just curling one at a time in each arm? Like
something like
shoulder pressing all day long? You're like, come on, I got him.
All the grocery bags.
Impressive. No, look, obviously a great deal of change. And I think it should be a change of excitement. For BYU. I think Coach Young comes in and inherits a program that was in a really good position. You know, I love Coach Pope. I saw him last week at SEC Media Day. Big old hug, big old embrace. Very happy for him to go back to his alma mater and have a chance to be the leader of Kentucky basketball. But with that being said, what Coach Young has already done is create an excitement and expand the brand of BYU. So as this team sits there now today, and obviously eligibility issues are very important to this group right now with Igor and how that plays out as far as amateurism status goes. But I'm really excited about the direction of BYU basketball, and I think that this team has a chip on their shoulder again. And I think any time a BYU team has a chip on their shoulder, you better pay attention to them, because if you don't, they're going to beat you.
Ask the football team this year.
How they doing?
Perfect.
Hey, truth be told, last night I was like, it's all coming to an end. Oh, hey, they scored.
That was Cougar Nation, yeah, in a nutshell. Expectations are interesting because BYU signed its greatest class ever, numerically, and you have projected NBA guys on the roster, which BYU doesn't typically have. Yet you got a first-year head coach who is lauded from the NBA. So how do you kind of balance got some talented freshmen, good core of returners, Keita's nice out of the portal as well, and a first-year college coach. Yet expectations seem to be high, and in this league, picked 9th is actually pretty good.
Yeah, it's really good because of the depth of this league. I think the 2 best conferences in college basketball this year are the Big 12 and the SEC. And I think the early AP top 25 shows you that those are the 2 best conferences in the country. SEC, I think, has 9 teams in the top 25. I think the Big 12 has 7 teams that are in the top 25. I mean, that's a crazy, ridiculous number from 2
We just care about net here.
I understand. Here's the thing. I think what Coach Young brings. College basketball has changed so dramatically. It's why we continue to see coaches step away. Most recently, Tony Bennett from Virginia, right? And this is not what I signed up for. This is not what we did. This is not how we did it. Now I don't understand how we have, it's just an unwillingness or just a frustration with the amount of change that we've seen in the college basketball landscape. Here's what you don't have with Coach Young. Frustration about the college basketball landscape. Like, he understands, okay, roster turnover is going to be real. If you have a great program, you're probably losing 2 players. If you have an okay program that has an okay year, you're probably losing 3. If you're not very good, you're probably losing half your team.
That's wild.
That's just a reality, and that's the portal marketplace that we're in. There also becomes the financial aspect of it now with name, image, and likeness and collectives and how that all puts together. Well, when you talk about financial and you talk about collectives and you talk about basically salary, even though we're not going to call it salary because they're not employees, what we're looking at is basically a professionalized model of college basketball. When you have a coach that's operated in the professional space, they understand that a lot better than a lot of people that have been in this system for a very long period of time. And also, when you're coaching 82 games over the course of an NBA season and you have a very limited time to really hit the practice floor hard, and then all of a sudden you're playing games and you're having to play a game, off night, travel, all this other stuff, and you're traveling across country, there's various ways that you can go about scheduling your practice schedule and your recovery time that puts your players at the best advantage. Many college coaches don't know that. You talk to a lot of college coaches, and they're like, I spent most of my offseason calling NBA coaches to try to figure out what we should do for travel. BYU doesn't have to worry about that. So it's a long roundabout answer to your question, but I think that what Coach Young brings to the table actually works better in today's college basketball world than it probably would have 5 years ago in the college basketball world. And for that reason alone, he's able to go out and say, roster construction, what are the pieces I need? How do they fit? And I think one of the big things when it comes to roster construction for me, for a lot of these coaches right now, is it's not just, oh, how many points per game did they average at their last stop? That's irrelevant, to be honest with you. What it matters is how do they fit or fill a need or hole that is in your roster. And if you fill that hole and that player is able to expand their confidence or expand their game because of how you can coach, and their effort is at a high sustained level, then all of a sudden now your team gets better a lot quicker. And I think that's one of the things that we miss when we look at portaling and numbers and things like that. Freshmen are important. All right, and they will continue to be important. I think we've devalued freshmen, overly devalued freshmen in college basketball right now. But you need it. Why do you need it? Because those are the backbones of your program. Hopefully, though, you're able to retain those players as they get older, and they understand the culture of what it means to wear the uniform. In your case, BYU. What does it mean to represent that student body? What does it mean to represent that university? What is it like when we take the floor? What does Coach Young demand out of us? Those are the ones that will be able to help even the older transfers as they come in over time, if you're able to retain them as they continue to grow. And I think that's really important. And the best programs in the country, UConn over the last couple of years, have retained a lot of their players.
Yeah.
So they add pieces, and they go out and they get transfers that fit what their needs are. But they've been able to go out and recruit freshmen. They've been able to go out and retain freshmen. They've been able to retain some of their upperclassmen. You don't see a lot of guys leaving there, and it's easy when you're really good and you win back-to-back national champions to do that. But I think that's the mantra. Look at Houston in this conference. Really sustainable success. Why? Carry over from year to year. And I think that in year one for Coach Young is probably going to be the most important thing.
It was big, and we've talked about that in the offseason of you had to keep Dallin Hall and Richie Saunders and Foose and Trevor Nell. And Evan Mayakawa said basically the best teams in the country retain at least 50%. Like the higher the better. You're off the next year.
Sure. Dawson Baker is another core piece that BYU is excited to get healthy and have come back. But as you mentioned, still a lot of change. Kevin Young brings in some high-profile guys. So what's a fair expectation for BYU? Because while there is some core pieces, again, there's still so much newness. So how patient should BYU fans be with this team in this conference?
Here, let me just set them off. Not patient at all. They should expect the moon and the stars right now. That's what I demand, Cougar Board.
People are excited.
Here's the deal. You could finish 9th in the Big 12 this year and be a 6th seed in the NCAA tournament.
Which is wild.
Think about that. Like, you could be a 6th seed. You're wearing a home color uniform in the NCAA tournament. I mean, the opportunities are going to be plentiful here. There's a couple things I think that are going to be, without question, very true for that that top of the top half and that top of the bottom half of the conference. What's going to separate those teams from 12, 9, 5 is going to be consistency. And the consistency, what I mean is this, consistency in your mental approach. You're going to stub your toe. You're going to lose 3 games in a row in this conference.
It happens.
Everybody will experience it. But does 3 turn into 6? How many games on the road can you win? Can you protect your home floor, right? Like, if you protect your home floor, you put yourself in a really good position. If you split on the road, you're outstanding in this conference. If you win 1 out of 3 on the road, you're probably pretty good still. But if every time you leave, you're taking a loss, that's a problem. And the grind of this conference just got more difficult this year. You look at how this conference played out last year. Now, all of a sudden, okay, you're going to add in Utah and Colorado. Okay, fine. They both, are struggling a little bit right now as far as looking up and trying to build back. Tad lost an awful lot from last year. 3 guys that ended up getting drafted in the NBA. But then you go down to the desert, and you look at Arizona State and Arizona. Arizona is an elite-level college basketball team. They've got a first-team All-American back in Caleb Love. All right, Arizona State is reloaded, a lot of excitement, a very talented freshman that they're going to play extremely hard for Coach Hurley. That becomes a very difficult road trip for everybody in this conference. So a conference that already was really super strong, you just added two teams that this year in particular are really good. One that's been great and one of the best teams in college basketball for a better part of the last 30 years of college basketball. And you've added that into a mix of a conference that has, for 9 out of the last 11 years, I believe, been finished the season ranked as the #1 conference in all of college basketball. So it is a gauntlet. And so therefore, what I would say is this: unless you're, at the top of this conference and you're Kansas and you're Houston and you're Iowa State and you're Baylor, those teams all ranked in the top 10. I think everybody else is going to be fighting all season long. And so I think the expectation level should be is how well does this team compete night in and night out? When they take a loss, does that game impact how they play the next game? Or do they come back out, flush it, and just go, hey, we're going to go ahead and our effort is not going to decrease game after game after game. And I think if that happens, you'll end up being very happy with where this team will end up at the end of the year.
Great stuff. And I'm glad you brought up the Phoenix road trip because BYU hosts Kansas. Then they play at Arizona and at Arizona State. That's quite a 3-game stretch. Sean, always great to have you with us. So glad you're at Big 12 Media Days. Thanks for the time.